You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about Joss Whedon directing Batgirl, Beyonce as Nala in The Lion King, and Michael Bay directing an El Chapo movie?
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, Simon.
We're both exhausted today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? Good night. I'm just going to take a nap.
We both came in and we're like, how are you tired? How are you tired?
Welcome to Meet the Movie Press,
Yes.
though. We are
Excited to be
laboring
here.
on. We do it for the love of the show and for the love of you guys. I'm Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the tracking board, tracking-board.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @theinsnyder. With me, as always,
is Simon Thompson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShowbiZSimon, and I have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson. So, both tired for very different reasons.
Yes.
You've been in Vegas.
I have been in Vegas.
A few things happened there this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
CinemaCon, a terrible night at the blackjack table.
Oh.
We're definitely going to get into all that stuff and all the cool trailers that I saw. Most of which have hit the net. It's like, why do I even bother going to the CinemaCon?
It always happens. It's like a Comic-Con in the summer. As soon as it's played out in the halls, it's like it's online. It's like, oh, could have watched that at home in my pants.
Sometimes the trailers even popped up before the presentations. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Oh, okay.
But
Didn't realize that.
we're going to start the show talking about what you see behind us. A new logo.
New logo.
Yeah. Meet the Movie Press. And guys, Simon Thompson has top billing.
I just saw that. I wasn't even aware of that.
I didn't even want to put up a fight because you know what? Simon is the true star of this show. That's what I've come to realize.
Thank you. Very nice of you to say so.
I'm happy. You know what? I'm happy to play I guess I would be the Rock to your Kevin Hart.
Fiddle. Yeah. You're my Kevin Hart. Yeah. So I think what we should do though is obviously if you're listening to this, you're not watching it. This whole thing about the logo will make no sense whatsoever.
That's true.
Imagine it. I was wondering if we should get our faces put in the little cells there.
I think it should just be Kevin Hart and The Rock.
We
should use their
we
faces
often get
to promote
confused
the show.
for Kevin Hart and The Rock. So,
Okay, no. For realsies, let's start the show this week by talking about Joss Whedon.
Yeah, let's.
Doing Batgirl. Huge news.
Huge.
Out of Dave McNary at Variety. During CinemaCon, the man is a machine. And
not literally.
This kind of he's not a cyborg.
Machine, yeah.
But this kind of surprised me. I mean, I know Joss has sort of hinted that he might come back to the world of comic book movies and superhero movies.
Yeah.
He obviously has a long history doing, creating content with strong women at its core. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, obviously being one of them. What are your thoughts on Joss coming back to this world to do Batgirl?
I think it's great because he did really, really well, especially with the first Avengers movie where he was really kind of left to his own. He did a great job with that. I think the second Avengers movie for him was not the best experience. But what was really interesting for me is the fact I saw this story break at sort of about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. And I literally had a conversation about 2 weeks ago with somebody saying, I thought that Joss Whedon would be back directing a comic book movie, and I would thoroughly expect it to be a DC movie. And then obviously this breaks yesterday. And I was told that was going to not happen. That was like rubbish. But no, I think it's great. I really, really genuinely would like to see this movie.
Well, it's huge for the DCEU if they can get someone of Joss Whedon's caliber in there.
Well, also, no disrespect to Alicia Silverstone, but Batgirl there was not great.
That doesn't even count. Does it? It's like...
No, it doesn't count, but it kind of counts, and a little bit. But no, I think it's really good. As a character, I think is rife. For some really exciting things, especially with the way that the universe is shaping up these days. I think it's great. Great as a standalone movie as well.
I'd rather see this character introduced in another movie than just right off the bat getting a standalone. It just, to me, it again smacks of the incompetence that I see at DC every day. I mean... How many movies have been announced in the last few weeks that they're just jamming these DC movies in there, whether it's Batgirl or Black Adam or Gotham City Sirens, and it all seems to be about the talent that they can get.
Yeah.
It's just how big is the DCEU?
Well, I I totally get that, totally understand that, but the way that I'm looking at this is kind of the way that you have to kind of
and the
compare
Robin
it to
movie,
Marvel.
let's not forget that.
I think DC is starting to learn from Marvel by the fact that you can actually benefit by a character rather than having them introduced as like a subplot. Sometimes it works, like it did with Spidey in Captain America last year. But I think sometimes, as we're seeing with things like Ant-Man, with Doctor Strange, actually, if you give these characters rooms to do their own origin story and introduce them and set them up, it does mean that you can then put them in a bit more... When they join as part of a larger universe picture, then they're already established, and you don't have to kind of waste time
rather
on
than
that.
reverse engineering
half
it.
the job is done. And I think also, especially with this, there is a hunger for these strong female characters and roles.
That was the buzzword at CinemaCon this year. Everything is empowered.
Yeah.
Basically, you should have seen these executives patting themselves on the back for even like thinking about
Having women.
It was
Women.
unbelievable.
Well
if there's
done.
a woman in the movie,
Yeah.
it's empowered.
Yeah.
I get that, that this makes a lot of sense, Batgirl, and obviously if you can get Joss Whedon to do it,
Yeah.
you pretty much have to. But again, it just speaks to there seems to be no plan whatsoever at the DC up at the DC universe. It is just such a mess. I can't even get into it.
No, I agree with that. But I mean, I just think that this is out of all the characters they're looking at doing as a standalone and setting them up, I think Robin and Batgirl are two that I think would definitely immediately have an audience.
And by Robin, we mean that we're talking about the Nightwing movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
Nightwing. I think that we will, you have that audience built in, and I think it's kind of less taking a risk, like sort of Disney did with doing the Star Wars stories rather than another Star Wars movie. That was a bit of a risk for them. I think actually this is going to be a risk that'll pay off for the DC universe and could actually be the little secret in their pocket.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm certainly interested.
What did you
very
think of the new
interested.
Justice League trailer?
I really enjoyed it. Again, it seems to me to be more on the spectacle. And I think that's one of the...
You think?
Yeah, but that's one of the biggest flaws, I think, that we see in DC. I mean, I definitely want to see it. I'm totally on board with it. But it seems to be more about the spectacle than the substance, and it concerns me a little bit. I do want to see it, definitely want to see it. I do like seeing more of the characters. I don't want to see much more, if I'm honest, because I don't want to lose that impetus and lose that surprise for when the film comes out. But it certainly really got me interested in the movie. I mean, to be honest with you, the first trailer had me... excited
I thought it
about
looked horrible. I thought it
Really?
looked absolutely terrible. And I think that was definitely the feeling at CinemaCon.
Wow.
That this movie is going to be atrocious. I mean, that is why you have to space these movies out and give time for some course correction.
I think that's
because
fair.
they were so like they just ramped up Justice League right on the heels of Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad. Like there was no time to like think maybe we should give this to a different director. Like Zach had already started pre-production on it. Oh, I think it looks like a goddamn nightmare.
Which I think is, as you say, part of the problem, because they couldn't reschedule it. They couldn't, if you start to move stuff or reschedule stuff or push it back, this train was already in motion. So it was already on the tracks. It was already starting to chug ahead. If they'd have messed around with that scheduling, I think they would have people would have gone, you know how it happens online. They're, ooh, they've moved Justice League. It's obviously troubled. It might not be the best film. I think this might be, hopefully, the end of this rot for them. But if we look at, say, Batman vs. Superman, we look at Suicide Squad, they both had excellent trailers that people were like, yes, this looks amazing.
I know. I thought Suicide Squad looked tremendous.
It might be on the flip side of that, is if the trailer doesn't get you and actually the film is then great, rather than the trailer being great and the film not being great.
The trailer that hit online, I thought looked like garbage. That we did see a little bit more at CinemaCon, and there was an awesome moment where, like, Wonder Woman, she has lost her sword.
Yeah.
The sword is falling. She's reaching out. She can't get to it, and the Flash just comes in and like boop, like.
Nice.
With an assist, she gets it back, and it's that kind of teamwork that I would like to see. Instead, from the publicly released materials, I don't see a lot of teamwork.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
just see
fair.
individual characters doing their thing. I can't get excited for this movie, and you know what? Half the movies that they showed at CinemaCon, I can't get excited for. That's why something like War for the Planet of the Apes honestly stood out amongst everything, because what we saw in Vegas, like, rather than this large spectacle and we're going to blow your fucking eardrums out and blow your eyeballs out through the back of your head, it was just a quiet, character-driven scene, and it was beautiful. And the work... God, these apes look so fucking lifelike now. It's crazy. They look more real than real apes.
I've watched that trailer so many times since it was released yesterday.
I mean, the trailer obviously needs to have those big moments, with guns and explosions. But if you could see the sequence and the new ape played by Steve Zahn, it was just fantastic.
I think that use this as a really good example. I think that's as a film. I think you can see the fact that it has the gravitas and the spectacle. And I think if we're referring back to the DC movies, it's kind of one or the other.
Yeah, there's no gravitas. You're right.
And it's these, the ape movie, obviously, well-drawn characters you care about, etc., etc. You have an attachment to, not just a heritage. Even though they're quite new characters, you connect with them.
Right.
And that's something I think that is still lacking from the DC universe, and I think that's why it can be more of a hard sell.
I'm sure we're gonna hear from the DC fans on Twitter too, because they are maybe the most annoying group on all of social media.
I would say vocal.
Vocally annoying. If I could
say what you mean, Jeff.
I literally can't stand the fan base, but it's like you get accused of being a DC hater. That is not true. I will take the DC characters any day over the Marvel characters. Those are the characters that I grew up reading. I didn't grow up reading about Ant-Man and Doctor Strange. If I read comics at all, it was checking out Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. So I love these characters, and I want to see them succeed and thrive. I think Zack Snyder has just blown all goodwill with me, and this Justice League movie looks fucking miserable. So that's where I stand on that one.
5 stars.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm just constantly willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
But how many benefits of the doubt can we give this universe?
I'm running out of them. I'm running out of them.
Down.
But yeah.
My goodness.
We'll see.
Let's move it along.
Yeah. So that was Joss Whedon to direct Batgirl and then Justice League.
Yeah, hey, Joss Whedon, good luck, buddy.
Tick those off. I think.
Let me ask you real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Who would you like to see Batgirl if you could have anybody?
I don't know, actually. I was thinking about this yesterday. There was nobody that really sprung to mind. I mean, obviously, I think potentially Brie Larson would have been great, but obviously she's now part of the Marvel universe, so she probably wouldn't and couldn't do that. I'm not quite sure, actually. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, what about you? Because there was nobody literally that sprung to mind. I think a benefit for them would be if they found someone who was actually quite new and fresh and up and coming, and there's nobody really that springs to mind for me.
Again, I don't know what age they're thinking for something like this. You know who's a really good actress who could use a superhero part?
Angela Lansbury.
Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
Carey Mulligan, actually.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it depends on what age they're going to...
They'll make a play for Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Which would not be the worst thing.
No, she's a good actress.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that'll be something I think that'll make a big difference, is if it's a good actress rather than somebody that just looks the part.
Flavor them on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you're ready for this, Jelly.
Okay.
Last night, Justin Kroll, our pal, dropped a story that none other than Beyonce, Queen Bey, is being sought to voice Nala in The Lion King for Jon Favreau over at Disney. This would be great if they can get her. I mean, and why couldn't they? It's a voice thing, right?
Yeah. She hasn't done movie stuff for a while.
I don't know if they do. I mean, I guess it would be mocap, right?
I'm assuming
for something
so.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how intensive it would be. Nala's not necessarily a lead. She's definitely more of a supporting character. This would be huge for Disney to get Beyonce.
It would be. But when I saw this, and it will likely be true, it's one of these things where, do you remember about 2 years ago where Lady Gaga was attached to all the projects?
Yes.
Every now and again, I think it's kind of like there's musicians or artists that are, kind of attached to things and are like, hey, wouldn't it be great if, kind of floating the thing, and it sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. I think if they're going to do that, I like that idea, and I think it would certainly make it a really even more saleable movie.
Vocally, though, I can hear her as Nala. She has a very sort of soft, soothing voice. I could see her and Donald Glover having chemistry.
You see, I thought they would have just gone for someone like Gugu.
Yeah,
I know she's in Jungle Book, so she's worked with John before.
Gina Rodriguez, and there
Yeah.
was someone else that somebody mentioned last night who actually was a nice suggestion. But
Rosie Perez.
But yeah, I mean, Beyonce. Why would she turn this down? She has young kids. I'm sure they'd love to see her doing some Disney stuff.
Absolutely.
And all these opportunities have been available to Beyonce over the years. She's just been focused on building a family and a home and her music career.
Putting out conceptual albums and stuff, yeah. No, I think if that happened, I think it would be great for the film, and I think, as you say, she'd really enjoy it, and it would be a good fit. Whether it will happen, I don't know.
Yeah, we have.
But I'd certainly like the idea a lot.
We will have to sit tight and wait and see what her decision will be.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm sure in a bizarre Instagram post or something like that. You know, typical Queen Bee standards. Someone who will not be turning up in a movie is Jeremy Renner in Mission Impossible 6.
Yeah, he was absent from the cast list at Paramount's presentation at CinemaCon.
Apparently not going to be able to do it because of his Marvel commitments.
Right. Since then, yeah, Roger Friedman over at Showbiz 4-in-1, always liked Roger. He is saying that Jeremy's going to be busy shooting Avengers Infinity War, and that he is also going to pop up in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
I don't know how Hawkeye would be incorporated into that story, but
You see, it's funny.
I think Renner's like slyly funny.
Yes. I think Hawkeye is probably one of the characters that is... It's a very simple character, but has a lot more to offer. And I don't think, aside from obviously his backstory that we saw previously, I think there's more that can be done with his character and more, and sort of his involvement within the Avengers, and where he sort of is center stage and stuff like that. I would like to see more, but I was kind of like, really, your commitment is that much?
I think he wants more to do, and I mean, in the last Ant-Man, Falcon had a pretty big role, right?
Yeah.
Maybe didn't he? Am I imagining this? It's been a while.
No, he did. Yeah, because it was there was the fight between Ant-Man and Sorkin.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that would be cool for me if Renner sort of took up that position.
You see, I was quite surprised because we talked about this before. I thought that Jeremy Renner might actually pop in and become the franchise lead, or the...
Oh, in Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
if they
Mission
were grooming
Impossible.
him to take
Yeah.
over. Yeah,
That's obviously not going to happen now.
I wonder if maybe a few years ago people thought Tom was losing a step or a couple of miles per hour off his fastball, so to speak. I don't think that's the case. Tom Cruise is still the fucking man to me.
100%.
When he came up on the screen for The Mummy during Universal's
I saw
presentation,
your tweets.
I was honestly
Like a 13-year-old with Bieber.
I told like the people sitting next to me, I was like, I could do this every Sunday. I could go to a church and see Tom Cruise come over on this big screen, and I could just sit there worshiping Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Here's something that's just come up in the chat from MK Songbird, and thanks for flagging this up. Apparently, Peyton Reed has tweeted this earlier, that the Russians are swarm tweeting that Hawkeye is in Ant-Man and the Wasp #fake news. So maybe he's not, unless he's joking.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Beats
in this
me.
day and age.
I mean,
we don't
was
need
confused
facts.
how Hawkeye fits into that story, but I guess if Peyton Reed says, maybe he's not in it, maybe he's not.
Or maybe it's a double bluff.
You never fucking know with all this shit. That's the thing. There's how many times have we seen directors say one thing and then, the other happens. Peyton Reed doesn't really strike me as that kind of guy, but yeah, I mean. The way that it was written too on Roger's site, it was like he's making the two Infinity. No, he said he was making two Avengers movies, Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was like, well, that's not an Avengers movie, is it? I don't know that I would. Call
it
that
depends
an
on how you want to, whether you want to.
There is an Avenger in it, but. I don't know. It kind of it did throw me off.
It's like Captain America wasn't an Avengers movie, but it was an Avengers movie.
Yes, I suppose.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I guess with as for Mission Impossible 6, though, Brandt in the last one, he was kind of like wallpaper.
Yeah.
It was like
But I'm kind of like, if you can lose any character, I would have benched Simon's Pegg character.
No,
as much as I like,
he's become the beating heart of that franchise. I feel like, but like I can't.
I mean, I love Simon Pegg, but I haven't really warmed to his character in that franchise.
I like Benji a lot. Yeah. I like him even more than the Star Trek stuff that Pegg does. But I think you're going to see Henry Cavill obviously come in and sort of play that role. Again, I don't know if Cavill is the villain or Tom Cruise's brother or another section of the government, like the way that Renner's Brandt represented.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have Cavill, I don't think you need Renner.
True.
By the way, Sean Harris is coming back. That was one of the things that was announced. The villain from the last film. You don't often see Mission Impossible villains carry over from one movie to the next.
It's not happened in any of them so far, has it?
Yeah, no.
Well, that's cool. I really liked him in that. Sean Harris is great. He's an actor that is hugely underused, unfortunately, by the industry. Okay, so Jordan Peele. Exciting news about Jordan Peele this week.
There was, but one second. I just want to check
Okay.
yes. This is down.
We've got some breaking news.
There was. No, it was Liam Neeson to play Philip Marlowe in William Monahan's Marlowe.
Okay. Marlowe and me. Come on.
I love this guy. That's why he has top billing, because he's clever as fuck. This week at CinemaCon, I ran a story about Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele last night received the Director of the Year award. I wanted to say he was in Vegas to receive it, but the truth is that there was such a nasty dust storm. I'll show you my car outside, dude.
Okay.
I need to go to the car wash after this.
You see, I thought Nasty Dust Storm was the name of one of the strippers.
Yes.
I'm Nasty Dust Storm.
Over at the Spearmint Rhino.
Yeah.
So Peele couldn't even make it out of Los Angeles last night to get to Vegas to accept
So
this award.
he couldn't get out, basically.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you see?
This guy is so clever.
This is why it's top billing.
Oh my goodness.
Bring the puns.
By the way, the photo of William Monahan in this Liam Neeson story that Variety uses
Not good.
is terrifying.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyways,
Dust Storm.
in the middle of CinemaCon, I dropped a story that Jordan Peele is being courted to direct Akira for Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a week or two ago, I would have written the same story about The Flash.
Yeah.
I'd also heard Jordan Peele's name for The Flash. Should this come as any surprise? No.
No.
Get Out made it's over $150 million now on a $5 million budget.
Yep.
Every studio wants to work with this guy.
Yep.
Warner Brothers is basically saying, hey, these are the projects that we have in active development. This is what we want to get off the ground soon. Why don't you come and take a look at all these, and if there's one that you want to do, it's yours. So that is sort of the way that it was phrased to me. Akira is the one that they are really pushing for him to direct.
That's been sat on the table for so long. So many people's fingers have been on that.
Do you think, would this be good for Akira? Would he be a good fit? Would Akira be a good fit for him? Or would you rather see him continue to make these socially conscious horror movies or get back to doing comedy?
Do you know what I would go for? I wouldn't go for horror. I would like to see him do something that is socially relevant, or something like Akira, because I think for Jordan Peele, and certainly the success of Get Out, for me, it's the fact that it wasn't necessarily like we saw a couple of movies last year that were quite low budget, made a shitload of money. Good movies. Get Out was a great movie, one of the best movies I've seen in the last 12 months. I think the fact that we know that he can obviously take a small budget, do great things, and produce a great movie as well, not just a commercially successful one. Akira is a project that I've lost interest in a long time ago. We talked about this on the show previously. But if he was at the helm, I suddenly get a lot more interested in it. So I would be very, very interested in seeing that. But also, I do love his comedic work.
That's the thing.
But he's done a lot of that stuff.
He's talked about wanting to do more horror movies and address, social themes through genre filmmaking, which I think is awesome. And I'm totally, ready for more of that. And maybe that will be next before he makes the leap to the big budget stuff. We all know Peele from the comedy world, whether from Key and Peele or Mad TV. So he could go and do another Keanu. But the feeling within the industry is that he is ready to make that leap to big budget stuff right now. Akira has had a lot of false starts. It has become a troubled project, so to speak.
Yeah.
At one point, they were close to going into production with Jean Macalacera, directing Garrett Hedlund and Kristen Stewart. There was a lot of blowback about whitewashing with regards to that stuff, and you're seeing the effects of that with Ghost in the Shell this weekend, which we're going to talk about later in the show and how it performed last night. But Jordan Peele, obviously, navigated tricky racial themes quite well in Get Out.
Very well.
And it seems like, he would have the sensitivity to be able to deal with those issues in Akira. Imagine, someone on my Twitter said, imagine Akira set in Atlanta with, a black cast. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot, obviously on Twitter, I saw a lot of, this movie needs to have Asian leads, and why doesn't it have an Asian director and all this stuff? I don't believe in that kind of thing where like an Asian person needs to direct an Asian story or an Asian story needs an Asian director.
We've
That's not
seen
how this works.
plenty of non-Asians direct great Asian movies. Case in point, let's use The Raid 2.
Right.
Welsh guy. White and
that's
Welsh. Fucking nailed it. Mm-hmm. So I get the point that I think we should make sure. Oh yeah, I think for Akira we should absolutely have an Asian lead. I think to not have an Asian lead,
it's not going to have an
would be
Asian
quite
lead.
easy.
It's not going to have an Asian lead. But let's just talk about it realistically. Like Ghost in the Shell didn't have an Asian lead for a reason, and this one's not going to have an Asian lead for a reason.
Okay.
I know that it is about opportunity, and that if if Japanese actors don't get opportunities, how are they supposed to end up getting roles in Akira? But
You see, who I think would be great for Akira, I mean, probably, unfortunately, a few years too old, was Byung-Hun Lee.
yeah,
Fucking love that guy. For me, made Magnificent Seven. Best thing in that movie for me.
Akira is Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Byung-Hun Lee is not Japanese.
No,
He's
I know.
Korean, right?
I know.
But like that's also part of the thing too. Like, they could even be more offended that the Korean is playing a Japanese role. Like, to lump them all under the Asian thing.
No, absolutely, I get that. But then, I mean, if you do take it to that minutia, I think then you have to look at things like why is a British black guy playing who's not certain African subcontinent playing a character from a certain other subcontinent. I think we can be a little bit too.
People
Too
in
cellular
general
about
on
it.
Twitter are too rigid about that stuff. Like, someone was saying, regardless of how Ghost in the Shell opens, well, we're never going to know how it would have opened with Rinko Kikuchi. You can't just say that it would have opened worse. Like maybe it would have opened better than ScarJo. The truth is that is crazy talk. Okay? Other than Jennifer Lawrence, Scarlett Johansson got Ghost in the Shell the best number that it will get. I would stake everything that I own on that. There's no way that a Rinko Kikuchi-led Ghost in the Shell is going to make more money than the current Ghost in the Shell that we have in theaters.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
It is a financial reality of the business that you are not going to have Asian leads in Akira. I'm almost 100% certain of it. So just like come to terms with that.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that is the reality of the business that we are reporting on.
True. Yeah, that's fine. But I think for me, that would be, I say, easier to accept. I mean, perhaps not the right phrase, but if you do take Akira out of the original location and do put it somewhere else, and there is a reason for it's kind of explained. Right. Yeah, great.
People explain why it is inherently Japanese to me. I feel like all those elements can be transported to an American setting.
Absolutely, which would then explain the change of, and that then it kind of, to me, it makes more sense and it feels.
And the other thing is, it's like, Warner Brothers did go after Asian directors. Like I have been on the show and I said that they wanted Justin Lin to do it. He ended up doing Space Jam 2 at the studio. People said, why not John Chu? He's doing Crazy Rich Asians at the studio.
Yeah.
So it's just like, maybe these top level Asian filmmakers, they don't want to put themselves inside that box where they're just directing Asian films, though obviously Crazy Rich Asians is one of those. But even that film at Warner Brothers is a movie that I was told by an executive there that they're nervous about, and that's not a big budget film. That is a mid-budget movie based on a huge book that they're nervous about.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about about what's going on up there.
But with Jordan Peele at the helm, I would absolutely get more interested in seeing Akira. I would like to see. I mean, we found out last week that Robert Rodriguez is going to be doing Escape from New York.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Jordan Peele do something like that, or perhaps take on the Warriors remake, that kind of thing.
That would be sick.
Would be brilliant, because I think he brings. I use the phrase again.
I totally forgot about that. By the way, the Warriors remake.
It's been hanging around for ages. I think he could absolutely nail it, because I think he could obviously do the drama, he could do the action, because there are some really nice little action pieces in Get Out. And I think he'd also bring a nice cheeky little levity to it as well, like he did with Get Out. Perhaps not so comedic, but I think the little touches and the little tones and little in-jokes, I think he could handle that absolutely with ease and very, very, very artistically.
From what I know about Jordan Peele, he is a true geek. He speaks...
Huge geek.
Yeah, he speaks geek. And so you would think that he would probably be a fan of Akira or Japanese mangas. To me, Akira is the granddaddy of them all. It is bigger than Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
And man, I think it would be a huge coup for that project to get Peele. Again, I don't know how interested he actually is in doing it, but to me, it was news that they are willing to do whatever it takes to get him on that project.
Yeah.
Short of that, does The Flash remain an outside possibility? Yes, but I don't see why he would want to, join the DCU, inherit everyone else's casting decisions.
Him directing The Flash, I'm less excited about than any of the other projects that we've just thrown out there.
But I do think that if he does decide to do a big budget studio movie, it will be at Warner Brothers because they are pretty much ready to offer him, whatever big titles they have in
Which I think would be
development.
good because I think, again, if he did eventually go on to do that, whether it's in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I think, again, as I said before, he'll add a gravitas to it and the levity, which I think, that's underpinning of these films that are currently missing from the DC universe.
He's clearly a wildly talented guy.
Hugely. And a really nice guy.
And so we can't wait to see what he comes up with
absolutely.
next, regardless of
whatever
it
it is, we'll watch it. Take my money already.
Let's the two other. A lot of people got directing jobs this week. Let's talk about Michael Bay and Paul Greengrass.
Yeah.
It sounds like Michael Bay is going to do that El Chapo movie after all. After Sony just won a bidding war. Part of me would have loved like a Coen Brothers-esque thing, just because I found the El Chapo story to be so absurd, and like this little Mexican man is like the most terrifying guy on the planet or whatever. So I saw like a comedic element there, but I guess Michael Bay sort of did that with Pain and Gain.
Yeah.
But he can also bring the intensity. What are your thoughts on that? Did you see 13 Hours, by the way?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, you should.
No, I know. I
really
I
liked
keep
it.
meaning to do it. I think it's on Amazon Prime at the moment, so I am going to.
Michael Bay's actually made a couple true stories in a row now.
Yeah.
And he says that he's done with the Transformers franchise. So.
Thank God. Did you saw some more footage from the Transformers?
Actually, no, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Did you skip it?
I walked out of the presentation because I was like, "Listen, I know what I'm getting at this point. I don't need to stick around for this."
Just to go back to Warriors very quickly.
Okay.
Russo Brothers apparently doing the Warriors reboot as a Hulu series. Yes, we had
really?
heard that a while ago.
Shit, I didn't even know
But
that.
obviously, we don't know whether that's still moving ahead or anything. But if it was to go back and do a movie, then we think Jordan Peele will be great. But yeah, Michael Bay. I would be definitely more interested to see this done. Is he going to produce or direct at Sony?
I think he would direct.
Okay, because I would quite like to see this rather than done as a gritty drama, because I think we're going to have quite a few of those coming out, is have a little bit of a comedic tone to it, because I think there is a little bit of comedy behind the El Chapo story. Yeah. Especially when you knew about, the journalist meeting with him, Sean Penn and stuff like that. I think it would be a good time to actually have it as not as a serious drama, not as a life story, but almost like a Peter Sellers-esque kind of, this inept guy kind of thing. I think that would be more. I would be more interested in seeing that.
Would you rather see Bay's El Chapo, or if he's going back to Sony anyways?
That makes it sound like he's called his penis El Chapo. Do you want to see Bay's El Chapo? No, I don't. Pull your pants up.
I hope he doesn't, because I already took that name.
Say hello to my little friend.
If he is, he hasn't. I don't think he's worked for Sony in a long time.
No.
If he is going back there,
Yeah.
would you rather just see him take over Bad Boys 3 now that Carnahan's
Yeah, I would.
left?
I'd be very much.
it's-
I'd be very much up for that.
Me too, kind
Yeah.
of.
Because I think when he does that meat and two veg, and again, as we saw with things like Pain and Gain, with that comedic thing, I think applying that to a third Bad Boys movie, I'd be totally on board for that. And I'm not a massive Michael Bay fan, but I'd be on board for that, 100%.
I would have been cool with Peter Berg's El Chapo movie too, just because I think he's been crushing that kind of stuff lately.
Yeah, very much so. Even if a lot of the films haven't done the box office that they perhaps should
But yeah,
have done.
that sounds cool. It seems a little too recent, like a little too soon for an El Chapo movie. Maybe give it some time.
Yeah, but we'd probably be looking at, where are we now, 2017?
You're right, it wouldn't
We'd probably
come
look
out
at
for like 3 years.
2019, so that would be 4...
That's true.
5 years. And, there are kids in school now who are like, say, 9/11 is like old history for them. So 5 years in news to target audience potentially. That's like old man time.
Dude, I was yesterday. Amazon threw a luncheon at CinemaCon. It was hyping its movie The Big Sick.
Yeah.
Which Judd Apatow produced and sold in a bidding war at Sundance to Amazon. And there was a hilarious 9/11 joke where Ray Romano.
Is there such a thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There is in this context. Ray Romano asks Kumail Nanjiani from Silicon Valley, who's the star of The Big Sick. He's like, so what are your thoughts on 9/11? And Kumail sort of picking up on what Ray is throwing down. He's like, oh, it was such a tragedy. We lost 19 of our best guys. It was
boy.
That joke fucking killed. The whole room cracked up there. Again, with the right joke, you can make fun of anything.
True.
Obviously, there's nothing funny about 9/11.
No,
but
per se.
That was a very
you can find
graceful,
comedy in dark places.
Tasteful joke,
Yeah,
exactly. We'll jump from Michael Bay and El Chapo over to Paul Greengrass doing Ness, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's the title that they're going for. That's the Elliot Ness movie. But you and I and most people listening to the show would know it as Torso.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of my favorite graphic novels. It's over at Paramount. I had lost track of it for a while. And it, co-written by it's Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Andreyko. Mark Andreyko on the Lion's Den in the faction in the Schmodown. I have been meaning to bring in my Torso book for him to autograph, which would be a huge thrill for me. But Andreyko did not let me in on this one. He kept it secret.
Right.
And Deadline was the one that broke it. But the idea of Greengrass tackling this material, oh my God, so fucking exciting. This was going to be a David Fincher project. It is essentially about a serial killer on the loose in Ohio. I forget if it's Cleveland or one of the other cities there. Okay. And only Elliot Ness can bring him down.
It's a great story.
Have you read the graphic
novel?
novel?
I haven't read the graphic novel.
I'll bring it in because it's a quick read. You can read it in like an hour or two.
Unfortunately. I can't read. This is really. Oh, I'm kidding.
Simon struggles with dyslexia.
Yeah.
But what was Greengrass's last movie?
Oh God, was it
Captain Phillips?
Yeah. I think he was.
He's one of our great directors, Greengrass.
I was going to say Bourne, but he didn't.
Oh no, it was. It was Bourne. You're right. It was Jason Bourne. I forgot that he came back to that franchise, which was a fucking nightmare.
But the script is Brian Helgeland, right?
I think so. Yeah. No,
genius.
Yeah, there's some prestige around this Elliot Ness movie. I don't know who I would like to see play him. I'd have to think about that one. I don't think I can be put on the spot for Elliot Ness casting. I thought you were going to say Kevin Costner again. But you're right. Why not Kevin Hart?
Why not Kevin Hart?
I'm just glad
always
to see
number one on the speed dial.
Greengrass tackling something dark and edgy and not doing the safe Bourne type thing. And also not doing like... Actually, it's
interesting with Bourne because I mean that from having a great character, it just appeared to lack character.
Bourne was
lack structure. It was not a great movie.
The last one.
But then you look back at say Captain Phillips, and everything about that was strong.
Yeah, I mean that is where he's in.
Dealing with this would give him a real chance to get
that United 93, Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
Greengrass is one of the best filmmakers that we have.
Absolutely, agree.
He obviously crushed the action sequences in the first two Bourne sequels, but I still don't think those are good movies. Like it's the other three films that represent his best work to me.
Yeah, I think that this though, when he could really get into the meat of the character, and I think do some really nice drawing and filling out. I wonder if it would
be black and white. Probably not for financial reasons, but I think that was Fincher's plan back in the day was to film it in black and white. That would be awesome.
What about Tom Hanks?
Elliot Ness. That would be.
They work together.
I'm all
they
for
work
more
well.
Hanks. I don't know how old Ness. I think Ness is supposed to be a little bit younger in this, but he may already be like the fabled Elliot Ness. I have to go back and read Torso.
Hugh Jackman.
That's Hugh Jackman stopping a fucking serial killer.
Would be awesome. Grizzly.
And again, we'll every time we mention a new movie star, I have to talk about their latest trailer. So I don't know if this is hit online. It probably has. The Greatest Showman trailer. Is that up?
I haven't seen it online. No.
Okay, that looks really good. Like Hugh Jackman could be in the mix for an Oscar this year, not just with Logan, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know Fox is going to make a big push on Hugh Jackman for The Greatest Showman, where he plays P.T. Barnum.
Yeah.
He practically invented show business.
I am very interested in that as a film.
Yeah.
Very
He
much
would
so.
make a cool Elliot Ness. You are right.
Yeah.
Simon, full of great ideas today. You really brought your A game.
For someone who's very tired.
For someone who's tired, but when you're really earning the top billing.
Top billing.
Today.
Top
That's
billing.
right.
Just want to mention. There you go. Top billing.
And speaking of directors,
Yeah.
we talked about Bay and Greengrass. Those guys are veterans. Let's talk about an up-and-comer, so to speak, who I'd completely forgotten about in the context of a director. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in talks to direct Wingman, a musical comedy with Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Now, he has been attached to star in this thing for years. Him and Channing, they've wanted to do a musical together. There was talk about them doing a Guys and Dolls remake, but this was, then they wanted to do an original thing. But it has been without a director for all this time, and Gordon-Levitt is, it seems like he's convincing the studio to give him a shot. Now, he directed Don John. That was his directorial debut,
which I really liked.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought Don John was fantastic.
Do business.
It did no business, which is why I have completely forgotten about Gordon-Levitt as a director. Like, I don't think of him in that context.
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of in his wheelhouse, like the light musical kind of thing. He obviously does a lot of filmmaking with Hit Record, his crowdsourced sort of creativity website. I really like it.
Yeah. No, I do. Very much so. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really love Snowden, but I enjoyed him in Snowden. And I would love to see him direct again. It's been, 5 years?
Yeah, it's been
5 years.
It's been a while. I forget which year Don John was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Don John was
I
really
enjoyed that movie.
good.
Yeah.
And I heard that a little tidbit. I was talking to someone who read the Wingman script.
Okay.
And they said that there is a scene where I think Gordon-Levitt is like pissing outside, and he's peeing or wrapping up his business while singing "Shake It Off." Get it?
I do. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a raunchy sort of R-rated musical comedy, and I'm all for experimenting with that.
I wonder if
genre.
Taylor Swift would let them use the music for that.
It seems like she has a pretty good sense of humor about herself, and
Yeah.
if it's Joe and Channing Tatum doing the asking,
Yeah.
tough to turn those guys down, right?
Yeah,
Would
no,
you-
absolutely.
I would never say no to Channing Tatum.
Okay. I don't know where you were going with that, but another director. Don't know what to do with that. Chris Addison. I was quite surprised to see this actually.
Do you know him? Are you familiar with his work?
Yeah. Well, he started out in the UK, sort of, quite a while ago, as a stand-up comedian, and then he obviously joined things like The Thick of It as an actor, and then he started directing some episodes, and he's gradually moved into a director role at Veep.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not like a musical theater guy. He's not like...
No. He's a comedy background, comedy and drama. A really good actor, and he's got a really nice eye for direction. But I was quite surprised to see him, being in line to do Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is the remake with Anne Hathaway and
Rebel Wilson.
And
right?
Rebel Wilson, yeah. I think it'd be great. His comedic timing is great. Really
That's good to know.
And
I honestly... Sorry, go on.
his work on Veep is top notch.
See, I don't really watch Veep.
Great show.
And nor do I think a lot about, I guess, sitcom directing. But obviously, there's plenty of skill there. I don't know much about Chris Addison beyond the fact that Anne Hathaway's a big fan of his.
Yeah.
I and other trade reporters, I think, had been tracking him to do the Warner Brothers movie The Shower with Anne Hathaway, which is, what is it, a zombie?
You had me with Anne Hathaway and
It's either
Shower.
an alien invasion or a zombie invasion in the middle of, like, a baby shower or whatever.
That's cool.
Is that what it was? I forget.
I like that idea.
So, anyways, that is why he was sort of on my radar, but it's not surprising that he ends up doing this. Hathaway must have put in a good word or something.
I think it would work because, certainly if he wants to use some of the, obviously because they're changing the sex of the leads, but...
And the title, right? It's called Nasty Women, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. And I think if they want to change a lot of things, but kind of keep that, there's a kind of a slightly British tone to the original. And I think if they want to kind of keep that almost farcical thing, I think to have someone like Chris who gets farce really, really well, I think that would be a really nice mix.
Okay.
Could potentially be serious box office there. Aside from just having 2 big stars in it, which would mean good box office anyway, I think it would be a comedy with brains.
I am actually looking forward to that Hathaway Rebel Wilson pairing. I'm a big Anne Hathaway guy. I think she's wonderful.
I'm assuming Anne Hathaway is going to play Rebel Wilson's going to play the Michael Caine.
I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I was never a big Dirty Rotten Scoundrels guy. I
thought it was good. I mean, I didn't love it. I know it's revered by many people, but I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was amazing. Remember at the time they got a huge amount of love.
There's a third lead in that, isn't there?
Yeah, I can't remember.
There's 3 leads. Okay, so I don't know who will be joining in Rebel. All right.
Martin Lawrence. He's available. Bring him a fat suit.
Let's talk about some casting stuff.
Big Mama's Nasty Girls.
Colin Farrell in talks for Dumbo. This was the role that Chris Pine had been rumored for, and Will Smith. Sounds good to me. Colin Farrell and Eva Green in a Tim Burton movie.
I think they'd work really well together.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of these big budget sort of fantasy family friendly films. I don't know. Does he have kids? I don't know how old they are.
I don't know if he
Not
has
that that's the
kids,
only reason
actually.
to do these movies.
I think he was kind of in the wilderness for a while, Colin Farrell. His star kind of dropped a bit, and I think by doing these, obviously they're good money, they're good profile. I mean, he started sort of his renaissance with Saving Mrs. Banks, I think, when he was in that.
Yeah, you did True Detective, even though that wasn't critically reviled. Just getting that role was big, and then Fantastic Beasts. Now, is he coming back for that sequel? I didn't see Fantastic Beasts. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
No, because his character became Johnny Depp.
He became one another?
I think so, if I remember correctly.
Shit.
Am I remembering correctly?
Oh, my God.
The end of that movie? Because they
puts me at a disadvantage not seeing these movies, but you know what? I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, no, it's In Bruges was another one. Someone's Dino has just said in the chat. It was another great movie. I think it's so long, and I haven't revisited that film. It's just come out on home entertainment. I think that's what happened. I can't remember. But yeah, so yeah, no.
Real quick about you just because you mentioned In Bruges, did you see that trailer for 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?
I did.
Holy shit!
I absolutely love that.
That's fucking fire.
Yeah, that looks really funny.
Give Frances McDormand an Oscar already.
Yeah, so good. I mean,
I can't wait for that thing.
It'll be interesting to see
a real movie.
How they market that, because the title is going to be a fucker to try and remember.
It is a. I mean,
they'll probably just refer to it as 3 billboards.
Exactly, it's 3 billboards. But
no, I mean that genuinely, I think is a film I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing.
That shot up the list.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
And Danny DeVito is also in Dumbo, though.
Yes,
after playing the Penguin in Batman Returns for Tim Burton. Hopefully, that one comes together nicely.
Talking of Danny DeVito, here's something, and I'm tying this together with Jordan Peele, who we were talking about earlier. They were talking about doing a Twins sequel.
Yeah, yes, with Eddie Murphy.
Jordan Peele directing that, if he wants to do a comedy project. That's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. Nothing's happened with it.
I'm sure he would love to work with Eddie Murphy. I don't know if Eddie Murphy still makes sense for that movie.
I'd watch it. I would absolutely watch that. I love Eddie Murphy.
Listen, everybody loves Eddie Murphy, but nobody's been seeing his movies of late.
True, but his heyday,
and now we've got Robert Downey Jr. taking over the role of Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, but he was never gonna go back to that.
No, of course not.
He was never going back. Dr. Dolittle, the second one, was not good.
I'm down to see another Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, me too.
Let's just have Jordan Peele directing all of these movies.
Well, do you know what I would... Jordan Peele doing a Beverly Hills Cop, I would absolutely be down for that. 100%. 100%. 200%. Huge.
What else do we got?
Just a few ideas, Jordan. I know you're asking for career advice.
Right.
Because you need it right now. From a little bald British guy.
O'Shea Jackson.
Yeah.
Jr. Excuse me. O'Shea Jackson Jr. joining Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
I just thought that this announcement was funny because his Straight Outta Compton cohorts, Jason Mitchell and Corey Hawkins, were both in Kong Skull Island.
Exactly.
There was no room for him, or maybe he was busy doing something else, and so they're like, all right, let's get the third leg of that trilogy. Whoever the fourth guy was in Straight Outta Compton, sucks to be him. I think it was that Neil Brown.
Yeah.
But you think of the big 3 from Straight Outta Compton, and Legendary obviously wants to keep in business with that trio by getting
great.
Ice Cube.
Good actor. Good actor. And again, it's this thing we've always gone back to is like that there's a lot of non-white talent out there right now that are just waiting for these roles to come through to elevate them up rather than doing one really good project and take through. And I think it's a great example. Really cool. It's good to see they're making room for him in this project.
I want to see NWA go up against Godzilla. I would watch that movie. Godzilla versus
Lizards
NWA.
with attitude. I'd watch that.
Again, we still don't really have plot details on what Godzilla King of the Monsters is going to be about. We know that there's a family at the center of it. No, you don't need. No, it's going to be Godzilla
Monster smash.
Stomping around. But I am curious to see what role O'Shea Jackson Jr. plays in that film. Elsewhere, what's next on your list?
Okay, we'll talk about some trailers in a bit as well. But I wanted to talk about kind of going back to what we discussed at the top of the show.
So it's already 9:58. We've got to fucking move this along.
Yeah, Aaron Sorkin apparently taking meetings with DC and Marvel.
Yeah,
I would.
That's big.
Totally get on board with anything they wanted to do with him.
This would normally be like a rumor that I would like probably brush off.
Yeah.
But this was a quote from Sorkin saying like, "No, I have these meetings coming up."
Yeah.
And he's not a comic book guy. He didn't grow up reading any of this stuff. He doesn't really care about it that much. But the possibility is always there, and it's exciting that DC clearly wants to improve its scripts.
Yes. I think DC need him more than Marvel needs him, but I would love to see a Marvel movie of his. Hands down, 100%.
By the way, I think during the Transformers presentation, they said that there were 14 writers in that room coming up with ideas. Holy shit.
Yeah. Too many cooks, man.
Way too many. All right, let's talk about the trailers while we still can. Then,
okay, cool.
I mean, shit. How did the show go this quickly? This is
so
crazy.
much to talk about this week.
If you're in the booth and can throw us a timer and maybe give us a few more minutes, that would be awesome. I just want to know exactly how much time we have left in this show. Let's talk about 10 minutes. Great.
Cool.
It looked fucking awesome.
Yeah. Seriously, hands down, very excited. Cannot wait for it to roll
There was
around.
a lot of like the sort of jump scares or like net loud noise and Pennywise freaking out, but
it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I love the aesthetic.
Absolutely beautiful.
People were calling this the Stranger Things aesthetic, and that we're gonna get this. No, Stranger Things ripped off it.
Yeah.
I think all the kids looked really good. Bill Skarsgård looks fucking terrifying as Pennywise. And just like the art direction, like that red balloon, that is gonna haunt my dreams.
Yeah, no, I'm genuinely. My greatest fear is the fact that this, for some reason, whatever the reason is, doesn't deliver. That would really genuinely upset me. But everything at the moment is pointing from that trailer. I don't want to see much more of the movie. So marketing, don't put too many clips and stuff out there. I want to see that movie, and I want to shit my pants. That's what I want to do. Don't spoil it. I'm taking a second pair in there with me. Something's going to get
Just
soiled.
in case he needs a change.
Wipe down that seat.
Yeah.
I genuinely want that to scare the living crap out of me.
The trailer delivered.
Yeah.
You know, and like New Line included it in its presentation. We saw it was a little bit different than the trailer. I can't say I've loved what New Line has been up to as far as horror
It's
lately
patchy.
with the Conjuring. I didn't like the Conjuring movies. I'm not going to see
Love
the
the first
Annabelle
one,
movies.
didn't like the second one. Didn't
Yeah.
like Annabelle. Very curious to see what happens with the second one. Which got a new title this week, of course.
Right, Annabelle Creation.
Yeah.
I just love that you see all these movies, but for me, it is the one that I am holding out for and have very high hopes for, and I think Andy Muschietti? Is that how?
I think so.
Muschietti, maybe? It might be Muschietti with a hard
I honestly don't
sound
know.
there in the middle. It sounds like he was the right guy to come in and replace Cary Fukunaga. Would have been interesting to see what Cary did for that, but yeah. Okay, what other trailers do you want to talk to? Because I got to give you the CinemaCon report.
Okay, War of the Planet of the Apes.
Like
Dropped
I already
yesterday.
told you,
Loved it.
looks incredible.
If you haven't seen it, you really should check that out. Seriously,
it's a great franchise. I've loved both these last two movies. I think this is going to be the biggest one yet.
I think it's going to be
I
huge.
think that the Batman is in very good hands with Matt Reeves.
Yes.
They made a very good decision bringing him in.
And Spider-Man Homecoming, which will lead us into Suburbicon as well. I really like this. Genuinely, I really, really like this trailer.
I'll tell you, I was on the set in Atlanta.
Yes, that's right.
They took us through the whole movie. I can't say much about it. I signed an NDA. But, needless to say, from what I don't go on a lot of those set visits.
Yeah.
And I was told by the guys down there that do go on them that Marvel showed an unusual amount. They showed a lot of the movie, except for one or two scenes here and there. I am very confident in it. I think it's going to strike just the right tone.
Yeah.
I think John Watts was the guy, and the John Hughes approach that he's bringing to it is going to work. And Michael Keaton looks like a super fun villain. With
Just
the
seems to
Vulture.
hold together a lot more than the Andrew Garfield movies. I mean, I didn't
Those were
like The
bad.
Amazing
Those were really
Spider-Man, and I
bad.
really didn't like the second one.
Yeah, he was a good Spider-Man.
He was. The rest of the film was the problem.
It was
That
the
was
movie
thing.
around him, and I think that has been addressed this time around.
But it just looks beautiful. I mean, genuinely, I love the look. I love the feel. I'm very excited about that. Very excited.
We got to look at some Matt Damon movies
Yes.
at Paramount.
Yep.
Suburbicon and Downsizing. He stars in George Clooney's movie and Alexander Payne's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them looked really good. There was a lot of talk about Downsizing because they showed us a whole 10-minute sequence.
Yeah.
And this is where Matt Damon and Kristen Wiig shrink themselves down.
Mm-hmm.
Because, life is just a lot easier when you're smaller. You have to eat less food. Your clothes cost less because, there's so much less fabric.
Yeah.
There's just less things to worry about when you're a teeny tiny person the size of a finger, I guess. And it looks like a really bizarre, weird, unique, original, interesting movie. And who better than Alexander Payne to explore that world with? And George Clooney's Suburbicon. Again, plot. I'm not quite sure what the plot is, but it seems like Matt Damon wants to kill his wife, potentially for the insurance money, and then his son finds out about that plan, and then you have Oscar Isaac as this insurance investigator who sort of senses that something is rotten. It just looked like a really good dark comedy.
Yeah.
Paramount. It's nice to see them making these adult movies.
It's kind of like Death Becomes Him.
They don't have a lot of great franchises, and the ones that they do have are aging out, whether
Yeah.
it's Mission Impossible or Star Trek or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, I think this is the way to go. Get Matt Damon in a couple of really original movies. We saw a first look at The Dark Tower.
Yes, which has been moved slightly, but I wouldn't read too much into
What
that.
do you mean?
The release date, I think, has been moved slightly, hasn't it?
Oh, I didn't know if that was like a new thing or.
Okay.
I
saw some mixed reactions about that online.
I don't think it looked very good.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a fantasy guy. I've never read any of these books. I
Yeah.
feel like the people who do read the books felt like the trailer really captured them.
Okay.
But
People were saying it looked more sci-fi and techie than they were expecting.
yeah, that I got that vibe too. I don't know how interesting the main kid is going to be. There was some awesome stuff with Idris Elba. Like he definitely lived up to the name The Gunslinger.
Yeah.
There's some like the way that he reloads his guns. It was sick. And Matthew McConaughey has some really cool stuff. Like Idris shoots him and McConaughey just catches the bullet without even turning around. There are some moments, and those two actors are a lot of fun to watch. I just have my reservations.
Matthew
if you will.
McConaughey for Elliot Ness.
He would be really good
He'd
too.
be good. Just saying.
Dude, you're on top of this. You should be a casting
Just-
director.
I should be. I start on Monday.
We saw more footage from The Mummy, which looks
Genuinely
very
excited
big.
about
I mean,
that.
yeah,
I'm really looking
it
forward to
looked
it.
scary. When I asked Josh Dickey over at Mashable what he was most excited for, he said, "Yeah, The Mummy was the presentation that really surprised him the most."
This summer, genuinely, I know every summer looks quite strong, but it does look like we're going to get some genuinely really good, solid, consistent, solid blockbuster movies
There's
this
a
summer.
lot of good. I have the whole list right here. Yeah,
Really good.
it's gonna be a good
genuinely
year.
exciting.
Alien Covenant looked
Oh
terrifying.
my god.
There's just so many all these
Yeah.
new aliens, and they're just ripping fucking through people. Like this is a hard R movie from
Do
Rid-
it. It
from
sounds-
Ridley. He's not fucking around.
But that's worked well for Fox
Yep.
so far. So it's a good thing for them to do. And I think that's something that the Alien movies that we've seen, in the last couple of years are kind of have missed, really, is that viscerality. So give me blood.
Blade Runner, we saw more footage from. Looks
Cool.
tremendous. I think that the plot is still a bit of a mystery. I mean, I've talked on the show what I think it's about, but visually incredible.
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve is just every studio is going to want to work with this guy. Gosling looked like a badass. All the women in this are really exciting.
Now, I've
it's just so
interviewed
striking.
Denis a couple of times in the last few months, and obviously around Arrival and stuff, and he tends to be a very contained guy, very controlled. When he talks about Blade Runner, he gets very excited, as excited and animated as he gets as an individual. So I'm super excited about that.
The movie that got me stoked was Annihilation. Alex Garland's follow-up to Ex Machina with Natalie Portman, Gina Rodriguez, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
wait until that trailer hits. My goodness, that movie is going to be awesome. Baywatch looked great, had some huge laughs. I think that's going to be a gigantic summer, the summer comedy.
I think that's going to deliver where Chips failed to deliver.
Yeah, it's following the 21 Jump Street model. We're going to have to wrap up soon. I wanted Simon to get in a box office report, so take it away, buddy.
Okay, so 2 big releases this week. Obviously, Ghost in the Shell, which we touched on earlier, and Boss Baby. Previews last night, Thursday, Ghost in the Shell, about 1.8, Boss Baby 1.5, which I was quite surprised about. So Ghost in the Shell's kind of in line with 10 Cloverfield Lane about a year ago. Both of those films are looking at doing 30 million this weekend, so they're going to be close, but they're going to take second place, second or third. It'll be tight, because it looks like Beauty and the Beast in its third weekend is going to do 50 million.
50? Wow.
50 million.
I feel like it'll come in closer to 40 to 45. I can see Boss Baby doing a little bit better than estimates, closer to 35 to 40, and I can actually see Ghost in the Shell doing a little bit worse in the 25 to 30 range. Do you think that the whitewashing thing is having an effect on it, or people don't give a shit?
I just think the general audience don't care in the nicest possible way. I just don't think they're that bothered by it as much as the community are bothered about it.
Us bloggers, exactly. We care about it, and certainly some people on Twitter.
It's clearly an issue. But I don't think the what I call normal people, handing over their money, really care about it that much. So
I'm inclined to agree with you there. But hopefully it does well, because I want to see more mangas adapted and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to have to wrap up. But real quick, I did see Fate of the Furious.
Yes.
I don't know what I can say.
Okay.
It does have some great action sequences in it that are real jaw droppers. But again, it's just missing an element or two. It's just become like this James Bond thing, and we do, miss Paul Walker an awful lot.
Yeah, and also just cars, racing.
Scott Eastwood's no real replacement.
No.
That'll do it for this week's Meet the Movie Press.
A lot to talk about.
Hope you guys have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Simon, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShowbizSimon, and you can find me on Facebook. This is Simon Thompson. Jeff, where can they find you?
I'm at the Sneider on Twitter and Facebook. You can find me at the tracking board, tracking-board.com, where I'm the editor-in-chief. Thank you, as always, for watching the Popcorn Talk Network here. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe.
Share.
Check out Ghost in the Shell so we can get a good Akira movie.
Yeah. Have a great week.
We'll see you next week. Don't fall for April Fool's stories. They're all bullshit.
It's funny, someone said the...
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Christian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.